At Starbound, we tell stories the human way, not with artificial voices or AI slop. In the end, what's HFY without humanity? Subscribe to keep it this way. My name's Chikondi. Let's begin. The flyer was a smudged mess of alien script and what Cal O'Malley figured was either an inspirational slogan or a warning about infectious waste disposal. Either felt equally likely on Ironclad Station. He squinted at the directions again, the words wavering in the station's fluorescent haze and perpetual half-light. Clear Path Collective, second day, 1900 hours, behind Lynn's Eternal Laundromat. Door says Storage 9-B, safe to enter. Someone had added that last bit in ballpoint pen, the handwriting cramped, the letters pressed hard into the flimsy paper. A throb pounded in Cal's head with the particular venom of a hangover that had stuck around for the better part of 3 days. In his jacket pocket, the notice from the station's family arbitration office crinkled with every step. Formal confirmation that his wife had filed for separation. The paper felt as heavy as a torque wrench. He found Lynn's Eternal Laundromat wedged between a noodle stand and a veterinary clinic for something with too many legs. The laundromat hummed with the eternal rotation of industrial drum washers, the air thick with the competing scents of chemical solvents and someone's burned dinner. A beaded curtain at the back promised either enlightenment or a storage room. Cal pushed through. Dim light filled the room beyond, the kind of lighting that suggested either ambiance or a blown fuse. Folding chairs formed a rough circle in the forgotten space, which was quiet, solemn as a forgotten chancel. Motivational posters lined the walls. At least, Cal figured they were motivational. The alien script could have been promising inner peace or advertising discount reactor coolant. Others were already there. A hydrostatic being drifted in the circle's center, its body a mass of soft blue-gray tissue supported by a harness that let it move in the station's gravity. Ripples moved across its mantle in slow, hypnotic waves. Around it sat 3 others, a massive creature covered in moss, slumped in a chair that groaned under its weight. A tall creature of articulated bony plates with a cracked shell and many small appendages that twitched, and a figure whose edges wavered, like heat rising off tarmac. Cal stood in the doorway, the beads still clicking behind him. "I think I took a wrong turn," he said. The cephalopod rotated toward him. A low, melodic hum emanated from it, and a warmth washed over Cal, unexpected and welcome, like walking into a kitchen where someone was baking bread.
"Every door is the right one for the person who opens it,"
the creature said, its voice a melodic vibration that resonated in the air around him.
"There are only unexpected thresholds. I am Rion. Please join us."
"Look, I was trying to find..." Cal glanced at the flyer again. "The Clear Path Collective?"
"You have found it."
Rion drifted toward an empty chair, a tendril gesturing in a smooth, elegant arc.
"We were about to begin. We always have room for one more."
The creature of articulated bony plates, Korlak, Cal's brain supplied, dredged up half-remembered xenobiology from his apprenticeship days, made a sound like gravel in a disposal unit. Its nathopods twitched, releasing a sharp, acrid scent that Cal recognized, sheared metal and static.
"This is a closed session,"
the Korlak said.
"Jove!"
Rion's hum deepened, a calming vibration that settled the air.
"All sessions are open to those who seek the path."
"He's an outsider." Cal raised his hands. "The big bug's right. I'm obviously in the wrong..."
"Please,"
the wavering figure spoke, and her voice was a whisper carried on vibrations Cal felt in his teeth.
"sit, stay. You look tired."
She was right. An exhaustion sat so deep in his bones, sleep only deepened it. Tired of his empty apartment and the comm that rang only for work calls. Tired of looking at Tilly's drawings in the refrigerator door and knowing he'd missed another weekend. Tired of the man in the mirror, grease-stained and hollow-eyed and getting worse at pretending everything was fine. Cal sat. The meeting followed a rhythm he almost recognized. Rion would hum a low note, someone would speak, the others would listen. It reminded Cal of something his grandmother had dragged him to as a kid. A church basement, folding chairs, bad coffee, people talking about the things that haunted them. The moss-covered giant, Bull, someone called him, spoke in subsonic rumbles that Cal felt in his chest more than heard. The words arrived as impressions, the weight of sorrow, the acid tang of guilt, a garden consumed by fire. The air grew heavy around him, pressing down on Cal's shoulders like wet wool. The wavering one was Phaedra. She spoke in halting whispers about fear, fear of crowds, of judgments, of spaces between her hab unit and the rest of the station. Her body hummed with a discordant frequency that set Cal's molars on edge. Jorv remained silent. He sat with his cracked exoskeleton hunched, his smaller manipulators, delicate things nested beneath his primary claws, picking at the seam of his seat. The scent of sheared metal and static gradually faded into something almost citrus. After a moment, Rion focused his attention and a soft vibration on Cal.
"We have a new friend with us tonight," he said. "Would you like to share what brought you through that door?"
Every eye and an array of analogous sensory organs turned to him. Cal cleared his throat. Look, to keep it brief, I'm just trying to stop hitting the bottle, you know? Get my head straight. Silence. Jorv's nathopods twitched.
"Hitting the bottle?"
Yeah, drinking. Too much. Cal rubbed his face with calloused hands. I'm just trying to lay off beer is all.
"Beer?"
Yeah? Alcohol? The silence changed. It became something dense and brittle, like the moment before a hull breach. Phaedra's hum climbed several octaves. Bull's subsonic rumble shifted to something that vibrated Cal's bones with a disquieting frequency. Rion emitted a rapid sequence of complex, overlapping notes that grated on Cal's nerves. Jorv rose from his chair. He was taller than Cal had realized. 8 feet of sclerotized plates, his posture rigid, his cracked exoskeleton catching the dim light. His primary claws slammed the coffee table hard enough to crack the laminate.
"You call it beer?"
Cal scrambled back. Hey, what the?
"The Soul Eater."
Bull's voice was a continual rumble, the words pressing against Cal's eardrums.
"The Amber Poison, Ethos-9, classified corrosive. You drink it casually."
The substance we gather here to resist
Phaedra whispered, her form shimmering more intensely with each word,
is fatal to our kind. A single exposure creates a euphoria so profound it masks the decay. The cells begin to break down, the nervous system follows, and still the craving grows.
Cal's hangover asserted itself with a fresh wave of nausea. Wait, you're telling me alcohol, beer, whiskey, the stuff we make from grain and fruit?
"Is a Class 4 corrosive toxin,"
Rion said, his resonant hum settling into a steady, calming tone.
"Possession carries a mandatory sentence. Distribution is a capital offense in 53 systems. And you..."
I drink it. Cal stared at his hands, the hands that had opened 1,000 beer bottles, raised 1,000 glasses. For fun. I mean, not fun exactly. Not anymore. But yeah, humans drink it. All the time. We've been doing it for thousands of years. Jorv's nathites clicked in rapid staccato.
"Your species is insane."
I'm starting to agree with you. Rion drifted closer, his resonant hum shifting through complex tonal sequences that defied Cal's understanding.
"You are here because you wish to stop?"
Yeah. Cal let out a long, ragged breath. Yeah, I am.
In that case, you are in the right place.
The resonant hum settled into a warm, inviting frequency.
The path is the same regardless of substance. The addiction differs. The struggle is universal.
Jorv sat back down, the rigidity leaving his frame. He looked at Cal with deep-set eyes that glittered like chips of polished jet in the low light.
You're genuinely telling us,
Jorv said, drawing out the words,
that your species evolved to consume a substance that dissolves our synaptic tissue? That you do this recreationally? That you surround your young with it? That your celebrations center on it? That your entire culture marinades in the most efficient organic solvent we've cataloged?
Cal thought about Christmas parties, wedding receptions, Friday nights, the six-pack he used to keep in the back of the gravlift maintenance bay.
Pretty much, yeah.
Jorv made a sound somewhere between a laugh and a death rattle.
Humans.
Bull agreed, and the subsonic rumble carried a new tone, one of awe. The meeting gradually broke up. Cal found himself standing outside the laundromat, breathing station air that tasted of industrial lubricant and noodle broth. The pounding in his head persisted, joined by a small, strange sensation he couldn't place. He'd spent his whole life surrounded by people who understood alcohol, who shared drinks with him, enabled him, commiserated with him. For the first time, he met beings who looked at beer and saw poison. These aliens looked at him like he was a biological anomaly, a creature who could ingest death and survive, and somehow that made the beer less appealing. His comm buzzed. Jenna's name lit up the screen. He stared at the name for 3 full seconds before answering.
Cal?
Her voice was professional, clipped, the way she talked to difficult vendors.
I'm calling about the visitation schedule for Tilly.
Yeah, of course. He leaned against the bulkhead, watching unfamiliar species shuffle past on the main concourse. What's the situation?
We need to coordinate the handoffs. My mother's place is a school transport stop nearby, so I was thinking...
Whatever works for you. I can be flexible. A pause. In that pause lived 3 years of marriage, 1,000 dinners, a daughter with his eyes and her mother's stubbornness.
You sound tired, Cal.
Long shift.
Right.
They spoke like 2 strangers arranging a cargo transfer.
That's Thursday, then,
Jenna said.
6 o'clock. Be on time.
I will.
Cal?
He waited.
Nothing. Just be on time.
She disconnected. Cal stood there for a long moment, the comm screen dark in his hand. In his quarters, a cramped rectangle that smelled of coolant and stale air, he pulled up the picture of Tilly he kept on his workbench. She was 6 in this photo, missing her front teeth, grinning at the camera with the joy of someone yet to learn that the world could hurt you. He'd been drinking when someone took this picture. He remembered that now. Only the familiar numbness he'd wrapped around himself like a blanket. He'd been drunk, and Tilly was oblivious, and Jenna had watched him with eyes that were already planning their exit. The picture blurred. Cal wiped his face with the back of his hand and told himself it was just the dry, filtered station air irritating his eyes. Second day came again. Cal pushed through the beaded curtain. The room was fuller than before. Phaedra had made it. She sat in the corner, her form giving off a faint, wavering shimmer, but she was here. Bull occupied his usual spot, the moss on his shoulders catching the dim light in shades of green and gray. Jorv hunched in his chair, still as a gargoyle. Rion's low hum pulsed with welcome as Cal took his seat. The topic tonight was fear. It was Phaedra's turn to speak, but she sat frozen, her hum climbing toward frequencies that made Cal's fillings ache.
I can't,
she whispered.
There are too many. I thought I could, but the corridors were so full, and everyone was looking at me, and I could feel them judging.
You face only acceptance here, Rion said.
I don't need to. I judge myself enough for everyone.
Cal found himself reaching for his work-handy terminal, the battered tablet he used for maintenance schematics. He acted on impulse, his fingers tapping the terminal screen. Hey! He pulled up the station layout. Phaedra, look at this! She turned toward him, her form wavering more intensely. See this corridor here? Maintenance access 9 through 12. Service workers only. At most 3 people at a time. They're usually too busy complaining about their supervisors to notice anything else. He traced a route on the screen. You take the lift to sublevel 4, cut through the recycling hub. It smells terrible, but it's empty after 1800. Then follow the yellow conduits. They run right behind this wall. He tapped the room around them. Whole trip, maybe 15 minutes. 0 main concourses. Phaedra's harness caught the light as she leaned forward.
You mapped this? For me?
It's just logistics, Cal shrugged and dropped his gaze to the floor. I'm good with routes, systems, things with moving parts.
Thank you.
The words hit him harder than they should have. He was accustomed to thanks only for keeping gravlifts running. Rion observed with a slow, complex series of reasoning notes.
You have a gift, Cal. You see systems where others see chaos.
I see problems that need fixing.
Is that not the same thing?
Cal fell silent. The week passed in the familiar rhythm of work and solitude. Cal replaced a failing gyro stabilizer on level 9, diagnosed a phantom vibration in the cargo lift shaft, and ate alone in his quarters, the same nutrition bars he'd been surviving on since Jenna took the cooking supplies. Thursday came. He arrived at Jenna's mother's place exactly on time, his best attempt at a clean shirt, and Tilly exploded through the door.
Daddy!
She hit him like a small, determined missile. Cal caught her, lifted her, and for a moment the universe shrank to only the weight of his daughter in his arms and the smell of her shampoo. Hey, Tilly Bug.
Mom said you might be late, and I knew you'd be on time.
She pulled back to look at him with those eyes, his eyes, but better, brighter, still alight with trust.
Are we going to get ice cream?
If your mother says it's okay. Jenna appeared in the doorway. She looked tired in a way that matched him, but her posture was rigid, a guard that had replaced the ease she once had. Ice cream's fine. Have her back by 8. 8. Got it. They stared at each other. 2 people who had once known every secret the other possessed, now strangers sharing a child.
Daddy, come on!
Tilly tugged at his hand.
The ice cream place closes early.
The ice cream was good. Tilly talked the entire time about school, about her friend Dev who could make his ears wiggle, about the drawing she was making for him, which she'd nearly finished and would be soon. Cal listened with an attention he'd rarely given anything except machinery. He was fighting for this small person who still believed in him. After he dropped her off, Jenna's silent nod the only acknowledgement, he walked back to his quarters through the station's night cycle, the artificial darkness pressing in. He could use a drink. The thought arrived uninvited, as it always did. Just one, to quiet the noise in his head. He'd been good all week. He deserved something. The bar on level 3 had a sign that glowed amber in the dim corridor, the color of whiskey, the color of forgetting. Cal stood outside for a long time. Rion's advice was simple.
When the craving speaks, let someone else answer.
Cal pulled out his comm. He held his finger over Rion's contact. This is stupid, he thought. It's just a drink. One drink. You're not even an alien. This stuff is harmless to you. But it was, just slower. A poison that left your cells intact while it killed your life piece by piece. Your marriage, your relationship with your daughter, your ability to meet your own gaze. He pressed the contact.
Cal, Rion's voice was immediate, warm. I was hoping you'd call.
Talk me out of this.
Where are you?
Level 3. Outside Grogan's.
His hand trembled. He shoved it in his pocket.
I dropped off Tilly, and I could use something, just to quiet my head.
What happened tonight?
Nothing. Everything.
He slumped against the bulkhead.
I watched my daughter eat ice cream and talk about her life, and it hit me how much of it I've missed. How much I'm going to keep missing if I don't get this right.
And the drink?
The drink makes it easier not to think about that.
Ah. A pause. You know, I had a partner once, a Hadali named Verenet. We met during a resource survey, two young explorers charting mineral deposits on an ice moon. Cal closed his eyes, listening. Verent found the amber poison during our third expedition. A human freighter had crashed centuries before, and its cargo had preserved in the cold. He sampled it, thinking it was merely a curiosity.
And?
The euphoria was immediate. He described it as swimming in light. His own hum burst into harmonies more beautiful than anything I had ever heard. His voice grew softer. Its effects remained hidden at first. We failed to understand. By the time the withdrawal started, the damage was already irreversible.
I'm sorry.
The pain of losing him, it endures, Cal. It lives in me, a permanent resident in the hollows of my memory. But standing here, helping others walk the path that remained hidden from him, that is how I honor him. That is how the pain becomes purpose. Cal opened his eyes. The bar sign still glowed amber, but it was dimmer now, smaller.
I don't know if I can do this.
You don't have to know. You just have to choose. Again and again, for as long as it takes. Every choice to stay clear is a victory, even if it doesn't feel like one.
Is that supposed to be inspiring?
It's supposed to be true. Inspiration promises triumph and transformation. The truth is simpler. You survive one moment, then the next, until the moments accumulate into something that looks like healing. Cal let out a breath.
I'm not going in.
No?
No.
He pushed away from the wall.
I'm going to eat a nutrition bar that tastes like disappointment, and I'm going to stare at the ceiling, and I'm going to feel like garbage. But I'm staying out here.
That, Rion said, is exactly what getting better looks like.
The next second day, Jorv announced that he'd lost his job from his menial cargo loading position.
Threatened to disembowel a supervisor,
he said, his nathites clicking sharply.
He accused me of stealing cargo manifests. I merely explained in detail what I would do to his thorax if he repeated the accusation.
Jove!
Rion's resonant hum tightened into a sharp, dissonant chord.
We've discussed impulse control.
My impulse was to actually disembowel him. I showed remarkable control by merely describing it.
He's got a point, Cal said. Jorv swiveled his head and fixed him with his polished jet eyes.
Do not patronize me, human.
I'm not. Cal leaned forward in his chair. You're a warrior caste, right? Bred for combat. All that aggression has to go somewhere, and you're stuck loading crates on a station where the most violent thing that happens is someone arguing over parking space.
Your point?
Come with me. The scrapyard occupied a forgotten corner of level 12, a graveyard of decommissioned hull plating and failed machinery. Cal knew the foreman. He'd fixed the man's personal grav sled as a favor 2 years back. 20 credits, Cal said, pressing the chips into the foreman's palm. 1 hour.
He breaks whatever he wants from the condemned pile.
The foreman looked at Jorv, 8 feet of sclerotized plates, every line of him tense and coiled, and shrugged.
Liability's on you.
Cal handed Jorv an industrial sledgehammer. The Korlak's massive claws closed around the handle, a perfect fit. That pile there, Cal pointed to a mound of ship plating destined for recycling. Go nuts! Jorv stood motionless for a moment, then he moved. The first swing buckled a sheet of durasteel like paper. The second punched through it entirely. By the fifth, Jorv found a rhythm, overhead strikes, sweeping arcs, movements that Cal recognized from old combat hollows, now witnessing them for the first time. The Korlak's gnathopods released scent compounds that were new to Cal, something sharp and ancient, the smell of warrior pheromones that had lain dormant for decades. His cracked exoskeleton caught the yard's harsh lights as he demolished metal, each strike landing with devastating accuracy. An hour later, Jorv stood amid the wreckage, his breathing heavy, his posture transformed. The constant tension in his shoulders eased, and he stood taller.
This,
He looked at the devastation around him, then at Cal.
this was satisfying.
Yeah, well, Cal shrugged. Sometimes you need to break things.
You understand.
I fix things to avoid fixing myself. You break things because your body is a weapon built for war that has ended. We're similar in a way. Jorv made that sound again, the laugh that might have been a death rattle.
For a creature made of meat and water, you are occasionally tolerable.
High praise from a bug.
I will choose to interpret that as affection rather than an insult worth killing you over.
Appreciate it. Buoyed by success, Cal applied his problem-solving skills to a larger challenge. He spent 3 days crafting a schedule. Every variable accounted for, every contingency planned. Tilly's school calendar, Jenna's work shifts, station maintenance schedules, backup caregivers, transportation logistics. He compiled it into a comprehensive document with color-coded charts and timeline projections. He sent it to Jenna with a message that read, I've worked out an optimized visitation framework. Let me know your thoughts. Her reply came 12 hours later, a single sentence. She's our daughter, Cal, not a faulty conveyor belt. Stop trying to optimize me. He read it 9 times. The 8th time, he threw his comm against the wall hard enough to crack the screen. The 9th time, he sat on his bunk, stared at the ceiling, and her words sank in. She was right. He'd treated their entire relationship like a technical problem, something he could solve with enough analysis and planning. He had always assumed what she needed. He'd just assumed that if he could make the logistics perfect, everything else would follow. He did that their whole marriage. Fix the plumbing, ignore the flood, calibrate the systems, disregard the screaming alarms, optimize the schedule, and miss that schedules were the wrong problem. He would need more than a sledgehammer for this. The following second day, Rion asked Cal to share something personal. I've already shared. About the drinking.
You shared a problem. I'm asking for something else. Something about you, beyond what you are fighting.
Cal shifted in his chair. The group's attention felt heavier than usual. I don't know what you want.
Anything. A memory, a passion, something that brings you joy.
Joy? Cal let out a bitter laugh. I've been a little short on that lately.
In that case, tell us what used to bring you joy.
He thought about it. Tilly, obviously. But pain tangled with that joy now, and the two were inseparable. Before Tilly? Before Jenna? Grav lifts, he said after a moment.
The things you fix.
Yeah. He rubbed his face and dropped his gaze. When I was a kid, my grandfather ran a cargo hauler. Old ship, constantly in need of repair. The grav lift was ancient, military surplus from a war long forgotten. He taught me how to maintain it.
The words came easier than expected. The Gravlift's gyrostabilizer is a beautiful piece of engineering. It has to compensate for constant motion, variable loads, microgravity fluctuations. 3 separate systems working in harmony. The primary rotational axis, the inertial dampeners, and the magnetic bearings. When it's working right, it's like music. You can hear it. This low hum that tells you everything's balanced. Everyone was staring at him. Sorry, that's probably boring.
No,
Bull's subsonic voice pressed against Cal's chest.
it is passionate. You speak of machines the way I once spoke of growing things.
The way Varen spoke of stellar cartography,
Rion added, his tone warm. Machines make sense. Cal looked at his hands. You diagnose the problem, you fix the problem, you move on. People are complicated and messy, and they don't come with schematics.
No,
Phaedra whispered.
they don't.
Cal met her wavering gaze. I'm starting to realize that might be the point.
Bull's story came out in fragments over several weeks. He was a master geoflorist, a title Cal only partially understood, but gathered involved cultivating entire ecosystems. His world had temperate zones where plants grew in mathematical spirals, forests that bloomed in coordinated symphonies of color and scent.
The collective gave me a commission.
Bull said, his subsonic voice low, and a heaviness filled the room.
A terraforming project. A barren world that the collective wished to transform into a garden paradise.
A rush to meet deadlines, corners cut, a modified nitrogen-fixing bacteria that seemed perfect in laboratory conditions.
It spread faster than we anticipated, adapted in unpredictable ways.
Bull's moss-covered frame seemed to shrink.
Within 2 months by the station's clock, every piece of native flora was dead, an entire world's biosphere destroyed by my hubris.
It wasn't hubris, Jorv said, surprising everyone. You were following orders, meeting quotas.
The orders did not create the bacteria. I did.
One mistake doesn't.
19 billion organisms. I counted them. Every species, every subspecies, every variant lost forever because of my impatience.
The room grew quiet. Cal thought about his own failures, smaller in scale, but the weight felt familiar.
You've stayed away from the soil since?
Rion said.
I cannot bring myself to. The moss that lives on me. They are all that remains of my connection to growing things, and I give even them little care.
Cal looked at the patches of greenery on Bull's massive frame. He'd let them go untended, brown at the edges, sparse in places, the alien equivalent of not showering for a week. There's an arboretum on level 6, Cal said.
I know. I walk past it sometimes. I cannot go inside.
What if you didn't have to go inside? What if you just helped me fix something nearby? Bull turned his massive head toward him.
Fix something?
The irrigation system's been acting up. I've been meaning to look at it, but my expertise is limited to pumps and pressure gauges. Maybe you could consult. The lie was transparent. Cal had fixed a dozen irrigation systems in his career, but a light entered Bull's eyes, deep and dark and holding 19 billion losses.
I suppose consultation seems safe enough.
The Arboretum was a forgotten corner of the station, maintained by automated systems and occasional volunteer efforts. Trees from a dozen worlds reached toward artificial sun lamps, their leaves forming a canopy of varied colors. Cal led Bull to a pump housing on the far wall. He opened the access panel and pretended to study the mechanism. See,
I'm not so sure if this is a nutrient line or a water main, he said. They look the same to me.
They are different.
Bull moved closer, his massive bulk graceful among the plants.
This one here carries mineral solutions. You can see the filtration housing's rating for particulates. And this one...
He stopped. His large hands that had once sculpted entire biospheres, reached toward the pump with the instinctive knowledge of a master returning to his craft.
The valve calibration is off. That's why your pressure fluctuates.
He moved his fingers with delicacy, adjusting components that Cal had deliberately misaligned the day before.
And here, you should partially close this bypass during low demand periods. You're wasting solution.
Huh! Cal kept his voice neutral. I never would have figured that out.
It's basic fluid dynamics.
Bull's musk-covered shoulders had straightened. The subsonic rumble of his voice was lighter, something approaching enthusiasm.
Any geoflorist learns this in their first rotation.
Sure, basic stuff for you. The pump hummed to life, and Cal watched as Bull's attention drifted from the machinery to the plants themselves. He brushed his massive hand against a fern-like growth, and the touch was gentle, reverent, the caress of a gardener who had been away from his garden for far too long.
They are neglected,
Bull said.
Whoever tends this place, they don't understand the pruning rotations. These branches should have been trimmed months ago.
Maybe they could use some help. Bull was silent for a long moment. After a moment, so softly that Cal felt it more than heard it.
Perhaps.
The argument with Jenna happened 3 weeks later. Cal had meant to discuss a schedule change, something minor, a shift in pickup times. But Jenna mentioned that Tilly was asking questions about why Daddy lived elsewhere now, and Cal's defensiveness rose unbidden. I'm working on it, he said, knowing the words sounded hollow. You've been working on it for 2 years. I'm getting help now. There's this group. There's always something, Cal. A new plan, a new approach, a new promise. Her voice was tired, a quality worse than anger. I can't keep doing this. Tilly can't keep doing this. I'm trying. Try harder. She disconnected. Cal stood in the corridor outside his quarters, staring at his comm. The bar on level 3 was calling again, amber and warm and promising forgetfulness. Instead, he went to the laundromat. The meeting was an hour away, but the storage room was unlocked. Cal pushed through the beads and found the space empty, lit only by a single flickering tube. He sat in his usual chair and stared at the motivational posters whose script was a mystery to him. Try harder. The words echoed. He'd been trying his entire life, trying to be a good husband, a good father, a good worker, trying to hold everything together with emergency sealants and stubbornness and the occasional drink to smooth the edges. The door rustled. Rion entered through his resonant hum, a low, soft thrum.
You are early.
So are you.
I come here to think sometimes.
Rion settled into his usual position.
This room, it holds memory now. All the shared stories, all the released pain. It feels like home.
Does it get easier?
No.
Rion's harmonies shifted.
But you get stronger. The weight remains. Your shoulders grow broader.
What if my shoulders aren't broad enough?
In that case, you let others help carry.
The alien drifted closer.
That's why we are here, Cal. To share the load.
The others arrived. Phaedra came first, navigating through the service corridors Cal had mapped for her. Her form was steadier now, her anxious hum muted to something almost melodic. Jorv followed, his narthites clicking in greeting, the scent of anger replaced by a neutral scent. Bull arrived last, and Cal noticed something different about him. His moss was brighter, fuller.
hints of flower buds emerging among the greenery. They settled into their chairs, this strange family of broken creatures trying to piece themselves together.
Cal,
Phaedra said, her voice still soft but steadier than before.
you've helped all of us. You've mapped my route. You found Jorv his outlet. You brought Bull back to growing things.
It's just problem solving.
No,
Jorv leaned forward, his polished jet eyes glittering.
it's care, disguised as logistics, but still care.
What we wish to know, Rian said, is who helps you. You've shared your problem, but you've kept your pain hidden. You fix everyone else while remaining broken yourself.
I'm fine. You are the worst liar I have ever encountered, Jorv said, and I've served with career politicians.
My field emitters,
Phaedra whispered.
they respond to emotional tones. When you walked in tonight, the dissonance was overwhelming. Your pain is louder than you realize.
Cal looked at each of them, these aliens who had become something that surprised him. Friends, family, maybe. I don't know how to do this.
Do what?
Ask for help. The words tasted foreign. My whole life, I've been the one who fixes things, the one who figures it out. Asking for help means admitting I can't handle it, and if I can't handle it, what good am I?
You are good because you exist,
Bull rumbled.
Functionality does not measure your worth.
Easy for you to say.
No,
The subsonic weight pressed against Cal's chest.
it is the hardest thing I have ever said, because I believed the same lie once. I believed my worth was in what I created, and when my creation failed, I thought my worth was zero.
The moss on Bull's shoulders rustled.
I am learning otherwise, gradually, with help.
A knot formed in Cal's throat. I need to talk to Jenna.
Yes,
Not to give her a schedule, not to fix a problem, just to talk. To tell her the truth about how terrified I am.
what scares you most?
That she'll see I'm still the same person. That all this, he gestured at the room, at them, was just another plan, another approach, another promise. That I haven't changed at all.
Have you changed?
Rian asked. Cal thought about it. Truly thought. I haven't had a drink in 6 weeks.
That's avoidance, not change.
I called you instead of going into the bar.
Closer.
He struggled. I'm sitting here, telling you this, admitting that I'm scared and I don't have answers and I don't know how to do any of this. He met Rian's gaze. I've never done that before, with anyone.
That,
Rian said, his resonating hum warming into a clearer golden tone.
is change.
They prepared him like a squad preparing for deployment. Jorv gave him a pep talk that was equal parts terrifying and inspiring.
You are facing a superior opponent,
The Korlak said, his nathites clicking with emphasis.
She knows your weaknesses, your patterns, your evasion tactics. You cannot defeat her with strategy. You must meet her with honesty, which she will not expect. Strike first with vulnerability and maintain the initiative.
This is the weirdest motivational speech I've ever received.
Adaptation is the warrior's greatest weapon. Now stop being a coward.
Phaedra helped him find a shirt clean of grease and still holding its color. Her hands, shimmering with the same instability as the rest of her, adjusted his collar. The light seemed to bend around her, refracting into subtle rainbows.
You are not a bad person.
She whispered.
You are a person who has done bad things while trying to be good. There is a difference.
What's the difference?
The trying.
Bull presented him with something small and green, a sprout in a tiny container, its leaves unfurling toward the light.
From the Arboretum.
The massive alien rumbled.
A symbol. It does not matter where the seed has been, only where it grows.
Cal held the small container in his calloused hands. The sprout was resilient, hardy, somehow alive despite everything. I don't know what to say.
You will find the words, or they will find you.
Rion drifted closer, his resonating hum shifting through sequences Cal had learned to read as encouragement.
We will accompany you, not to interfere, just to be present.
You don't have to.
We want to. We want to.
Jorv's nathopods released a scent new to Cal, something warm, like bread baking.
You are one of us now, human. We do not abandon our own.
They walked through the station as a group. The human, the cephalopod, the Korlak warrior, the shimmering scholar, and the moss-covered gardener. Other species moved aside, watching with confusion and curiosity as the unlikely procession made its way toward the residential levels. A frantic rhythm pounded in Cal's chest. His palms were slick with sweat. The Sprout's container felt fragile in his grip. Jenna's mother's apartment was 3 corridors away. 2. 1. The door. He stopped. The group stopped behind him. I can't do this.
You can.
Jorv's voice was gentle.
You have faced worse.
Have I?
You survived a corrosive toxin that dissolves our synaptic tissue. You drank it for fun. This is merely a conversation.
Cal almost laughed. He pressed the door chime. The wait felt eternal. After a long moment, the door slid open, and Jenna stood there, sharp and tired and beautiful in the way that familiar things are beautiful. She flicked her gaze from Cal to the aliens behind him, then back. What is this? These are my friends. The word felt strange on his tongue. They wanted to make sure I didn't run. Run from what? From telling you the truth. Jenna's expression shifted, something in her guard lowering by a millimeter. I'm listening. Cal took a breath. He took another. I'm a mess. I'm still a mess. I haven't had a drink in 6 weeks, and I want one every single day. I go to these meetings with people who look at alcohol like it's poison because for them it is, and somehow that helps me remember that it's poison for me too. Just slower. The words tumbled out, unstoppable now. I've spent our whole marriage trying to fix things, schedules and logistics and systems, because those make sense to me, and people don't. I treated you like a problem I could solve instead of a person I could love, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Jenna's jaw tightened, but she remained silent. I don't have a plan, Cal continued. I don't have a schedule or a framework or a 12-step optimization chart. I just know that I love you, and I love Tilly, and I'm terrified that I've broken everything too badly to fix. But I'm trying, really trying to actually change instead of optimizing or managing or controlling. He held up the sprout. Bull gave me this. He said it doesn't matter where the seed has been, only where it grows. Bull? The big one, with the moss. Jenna looked at Bull. Bull rumbled something subsonic that made the air feel warm. They're your support group? Yeah. Your support group is aliens? Apparently, I relate better to people who aren't actually people. Cal shrugged helplessly. Story of my life. Something flickered in Jenna's eyes. Forgiveness still felt distant, perhaps unreachable, but something. Understanding, perhaps. The beginning of understanding. Cal. The sound of a school transport docking interrupted whatever she was about to say. Doors hissed open down the corridor, and then came the pattering of small, determined footsteps.
Eddie!
Tilly appeared around the corner at full speed, her backpack bouncing, her face alight with joy. She kept her pace at the sight of the aliens, giving them just a passing glance. She crashed into Cal's legs and wrapped her arms around him with the fierce strength of an 8-year-old who still trusted her father completely. Cal dropped to his knees and held her, really held her, with an honesty that cleared away the alcohol, the walls, the strategic emotional distance. Just a father and his daughter, and the simple, devastating truth of how much they loved each other. "Hey, Tilly Bug,"
I knew you'd come.
his daughter's voice muffled against his chest.
I told her you'd be here. I knew it.
A tear traced a path through the grime on Cal's cheek. He let it fall. "I'm going to keep coming," he said. "Every time. I promise."
Pinky promise?
He extended his little finger. She wrapped hers around it, the sacred contract of childhood. "Pinky promise." Jenna watched them with an unreadable expression. Complex, layered. The old wounds visible in her eyes, but also something else. Something that looked like the first crack in a long winter's ice.
I do all the work,
she said.
and she's still a daddy's girl.
The words were a tease, gentle and familiar, the old rhythm of their banter, before everything had gone wrong. Cal looked up at her. "She has good taste." Jenna's lips twitched into something close to a smile. She looked past him at the aliens, Jorv with his cracked exoskeleton and a warrior's potent stillness, Phaedra shimmering, Bull massive and moss-covered and now fascinating to Lily, and Rion drifting, his warm, resonant hum filling the space. She let her gaze linger on them, noting how they stood back, a silent, supportive wall that gave him space instead of crowding him. Less an entourage, they were a foundation.
Well,
Jenna said.
leaving you all standing in the hallway would be rude.
She stepped aside and opened the door wider.
Come on in.
Cal looked back at his friends, his family, because they had become his family, this unlikely collection of broken creatures held together by shared pain and stubborn hope. Jorv clicked his nathites in a short, sharp sound of assent. Phaedra's wavering steadied to a gentle, constant shimmer. Bull's subsonic voice rumbled softly against Cal's chest. Rion's hum cycled through the warm, welcoming harmonies Cal had come to recognize. Cal turned back to Jenna. "Don't strain yourself with the hospitality. I know I'm on thin ice." She snorted, an actual, honest laugh hiding inside that sound.
The ice is so thin it's steam, O'Malley. Don't you forget it.
"Never." They filed inside, the human fixer, the salaphopodic facilitator, the warrior in a time of peace, the scholar who had found her voice, and the gardener learning to grow again. Jenna's mother appeared from the kitchen, took one look at the procession, and added more plates to the table in silence. Some things transcended species. Tilly had attached herself to Bull, fascinated by the moss and the flowers budding across his shoulders.
Are you a garden?
She asked with the directness only children possess.
"In a way,
Bull rumbled.
we all are, I think. We all have things growing inside us.
I'm growing a bean in class for science.
That is an excellent beginning."
Cal found himself at the table between Jorv and Jenna. The Korlak's massive form took up 2 seats, and he was handling the silverware with his secondary manipulators, those delicate appendages that his warrior caste was bred with, now finding peaceful purpose.
"Your offspring is loud,"
Jorv observed.
All human offspring are loud, Cal said. It's how they survive. Can't ignore something that screams that much.
"A valid evolutionary strategy."
Jenna passed a bowl of something that smelled like actual home cooking, real food, a welcome change from nutrition bars.
So,
She said, her tone hovering between suspicious and curious.
you're all in recovery?
We all struggle with the amber poison,
Rion confirmed.
And my husband's support group is aliens who think beer is lethal. It is lethal.
Phaedra whispered.
To us.
Jenna stared at Cal.
You joined a support group where everyone's afraid of something you could buy at any corner store?
Seemed appropriate. Cal served himself some of whatever's Jenna's mother had made.
They look at alcohol like it's the most dangerous substance in the galaxy. Because for them, it is. Somehow that helps. Jenna was quiet for a moment. That's actually kinda smart. We have our moments, Cal said.
Tilly had convinced Bull to show her the flowers blooming in his moss. The massive alien bent low, moving with care to protect everything, while Tilly touched the petals with the gentle curiosity of her age.
They're so pretty! Can I have one?
They're not mine to give,
Bull rumbled.
they grow where they choose, but perhaps one day you could grow your own.
Jorv was explaining warrior caste hierarchy to Jenna's mother, who was entirely unperturbed by having an 8-foot carapaced being at her dinner table.
My caste was bred with these secondary manipulators for field surgery,
He said, demonstrating his smaller appendages.
now I use them for this.
He folded a napkin into something origami adjacent.
Adaptation.
Phaedra had found a spot near the window, her shimmer catching the station's artificial twilight. She was humming a soft melodic tune, a stark change from the anxious discord Cal had first heard.
She's beautiful,
Jenna said, watching the light bend around her. She is, Cal replied, and she walked through Concourse 9 by herself yesterday, just to prove she could.
Sounds familiar.
He met her eyes. In place of the old hurt and the accumulated weight of years of disappointment, something newer. Something that felt like maybe, possibly, the beginning of something different. I'm not going to apologize again, Cal said. I've apologized enough. But I'm going to show up. Every time. Until showing up becomes who I am.
That's a big promise.
Pinky promise. Jenna's lips twitched again.
We're too old for pinky promises.
Tilly doesn't think so.
Tilly's 8.
And we could learn a lot from her. Jenna looked at their daughter, now sitting in Bull's massive shadow and chattering about beans and gardens. Then she looked back at Cal.
One dinner,
She said.
that's what this is. One dinner, not a reconciliation.
I know.
I'm still angry.
I know.
I might be angry for a long time.
I'll wait. Something in her expression softened, like a window opening where a wall once stood.
You've changed.
I'm trying to.
No.
She reached across the table, her hand brushing against his, brief, barely there, but real.
You have. I can see it. It might be enough, but I can see it.
The words escaped him. For the first time in years, he was without a plan, a schedule, or an optimization framework. Just this moment, and these people, and the fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, he could still repair what he had broken. Dinner continued. Tilly dominated the conversation, dragging laughter from everyone, even Jorv, whose death-rattle chuckle startled Jenna's mother so badly she nearly dropped a serving dish. Bull taught Tilly how to properly water a plant, his subsonic voice somehow pitched perfectly for her small ears. Cal sat in the middle of it all, eating real food and watching his daughter charm a warrior caste Korlak, and felt something that had been absent for years. Hope. Real hope, earned through struggle. The meal wound down. At last, Tilly's energy flagged, and she climbed into Cal's lap and settled her head against his chest like it had always belonged there.
Daddy?
Yeah, Bug?
Are your friends going to come back?
Cal looked at them. Rion drifting near the doorway, Jorv standing at attention like he was guarding the exit. Phaedra's shimmer soft and content, Bull already discussing arboretum improvements with Jenna's mother. I think so, if that's okay.
It's okay.
Tilly yawned.
The big fuzzy one knows a lot about plants.
He does. Tilly's breathing slowed as sleep claimed her. Cal held her, afraid to move, afraid to break the moment. Jenna appeared beside him.
I'll put her to bed.
I've got her. But she paused before reaching for Tilly. Instead, she looked at Cal, really looked, the way she used to.
This is what I wanted, you know. Not the support group or the aliens. Just you trying. Actually trying.
I should have tried sooner.
Yeah, you should have.
She took Tilly gently from his arms.
But you're trying now. That matters.
She carried their daughter toward the bedroom, and Cal watched them go. He stood, joints aching, heart full.
We should go, Rion said. Give them space.
Yeah. Cal looked around the room, at the remnants of dinner, at the scattered evidence of an evening spent in unexpected company. Thank you. All of you.
For what?
Jorv asked. For making me show up. They filed out into the corridor, the human and his alien family, bound together by shared pain and stubborn hope. Jenna appeared in the doorway behind them.
Cal?
He turned.
Same time next week?
His breath caught. Really?
Don't make me regret it.
But there was something in her eyes that looked almost like the beginning of trust.
And bring your friends. Tilly hasn't stopped talking about the moss garden.
I will. He paused. Thank you, Jenna.
Save your thanks.
She leaned against the doorframe, folding her arms, the posture less defensive, more thoughtful.
We're a long way from okay.
I know.
But we're further than I thought we'd get.
She nodded at the aliens behind him.
Take care of him. He's terrible at taking care of himself.
We are aware, Jorv said. His self-preservation instincts are fundamentally deficient.
Tell me about it.
The door slid shut. Cal stood in the corridor with his found family, the weight in his chest lighter than it had been in years. Come on, he said. I'll walk you all back. They moved through the station's night cycle together, the cephalopod drifting, the Korlak scleroticized plates catching the light, the scholar shimmering, the gardener leaving tiny spores in his wake, and the human at the center of it all, learning to share the burden. At the laundromat, they paused. The beaded curtain caught the dim light, the storage 9-B sign flickering above it.
Same time, second day?
Rion asked. Same time, second day. Jorv's nathopods released that warm bread-baking scent.
You did well tonight, human.
I had help.
Yes.
The Korlak's polished jet eyes glittered.
That's how it works.
They dispersed into the station's depths. Cal watched them go, then turned toward his own hab unit. The corridor was empty. The station hummed around him with 1,000 systems he understood, pumps and generators and gravlifts singing their mechanical songs. And somewhere in that symphony, a new note, the quiet possibility that things could be different. A process, still unfolding, still healing. Just better, one day at a time. He walked home through the artificial light, and for the first time in years, a profound quiet settled where his craving for a drink used to live. He wanted second day.